What was that? What? What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens? Well,
what up, weirdos out there in Weirdo Land? It is the Weird Whatever podcast, and it is great to see everybody. We've got a sweet Denny's, a Ryan Beckett, and a Vicky. And let's get right into it, guys. Happy National Men Make Dinner Day.
Ooh.
Yeah. Beckett, do you have a dinner that you make the ladies when you want to impress them?
I'm a very good taco salad guy.
Whoa, okay.
Really? That's like your go-to?
Yeah, and I've kind of perfected the charcoal grill, so I like to fire up the charcoal grill. And
Wow. I feel like we need some sex music down here.
wow.
Now, Vicky, do you love when a man makes you a dinner? Is that sexy to you, or is it kind of annoying?
No, it's A+, because that means I didn't cook it.
Because I knew a girl I went to school with back in college, and her boyfriend would always make her lunch and dinner, and she'd always complain about it. She'd go, "He makes such shitty food." And
my God.
Now, should she have told him that he makes shitty food? Because he was being so sweet about it.
Right, yeah, she could have left a few recipes for him or something like that. I had the advantage of my ex used to cook all the time, and he was Jamaican. So it was always excellent Jamaican food that I couldn't cook myself.
Oh, that's sexy. Denny's, if you want to get Jen in the mood, your wife, what are you cooking for her?
An easy go-to that always wins is like a flatbread pizza-esque type thing. You know what I'm saying? That's always a good one. Charcuterie boards are always good.
For romance. For a night of romance.
For romance, I mean...
I'm talking Denny's is trying to seduce.
I mean, so it would be something lighter. It wouldn't be a pasta or some sort of like porridge. So
Nothing to give you like the carb coma.
Yeah, you don't want all that. That's why I always was like on Valentine's Day, people go to restaurants and they get like the steak with a side of pasta. You just go, bro, you're about to go like, do you want to be rolling like that?
You got to go tapas.
On a first date, everyone's got to stay away from onions. You got to stay away from the pungent onions.
Just stay away from it.
And if one's eating it, you guys got to go down together.
That's
you
right.
both got to eat the onions.
So if they get onions, you're like, all right, then I can get onions. But chives is another one you got to stay away from. Chives will get you. They get all up in your teeth.
What about garlic?
Garlic. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you can definitely not eat garlic.
Unless you're on a date. No, vampires hate garlic. You can't even, that's not even a good analogy.
No.
Real quick, I do want to just ask the chat room really quick because some of our equipment did get moved around. Please let us know our levels. Is my level okay? Denny's, Beckett, and Vicky. Let us know in the chat room. You are our eyes and ears of this institution. With all that said, we have to get this podcast over by around 7 to 7:10 p.m. And there's a reason why, and it's all Vicky's fault.
Yeah.
Because somebody's got a hot date tonight. Ooh, yeah.
Is he cooking?
I will be, but I don't know about him.
Oh, Vicky, look at that. Now, let's talk about this for a second, and then we'll get into the paranormal. We want to delve into personal life a little bit. Where did you meet this guy?
Facebook dating.
Whoa.
Yeah.
FBD's a thing.
Yep.
And what was it that got you? What was the hook?
His pictures.
Oh.
I'm shallow.
That's the hook. That gets your foot in the door, and then from there, you woo them with your personality or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So
I was actually the aggressor because you have a choice whether you can wait for somebody to like you or you can like them. I was thumbing through Sunday morning, and I'm like, hey, let's play Facebook dating roulette, and I was just clicking like, and he responded within a few minutes, and we actually met on Sunday afternoon.
Oh wow!
Day
So
two.
this is number
Day two. Va-va-voo. This is exciting. Love is in the air. And we like this guy so far.
So far, yes.
Do I need to polish my gun while I talk to him?
I don't know. We'll find out. But I appreciate the offer.
I want to meet this guy. Make sure he's treating our girl right, Denny's. With that said, let's get into some Ask Vicky. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Everyone wants to know what, how it ends.
So, would you ever be tempted, if I don't mind doing a quick Ask Vicky, to do a reading for your own situation?
What I do when I meet somebody, because I can't read them myself because I have a vested interest on whether I want them to be good or not,
Right.
I have a series of friends that I send the pictures to, and I have them read, and so far not a single person has come up with a single negative thing to say about me.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't matter if it's friends. You can read for a friend like myself. That's not
Right. I just don't read for
intervening.
myself.
You don't read for yourself, especially when it comes to LOVE.
Correct.
It'd probably be so difficult anyway.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I want him to be a decent person, so I'm going to influence myself.
Yeah,
in
I would imagine a psychic could possibly manipulate one's feelings if they like somebody.
Yeah.
Am I off on that?
Yeah, that's why I don't do it. I just send it to friends. I farm it out to all my friends.
Okay, we're gonna get in some Ask Vicky. Let's do her theme song. Denny, if you don't mind playing it, go ahead and hit play. We love her. Good luck on your date. Okay, does Vicky believe in the devil? Can the devil visit Earth, or is that just what religious people say to scare other humans?
Well, I can tell you that my views on anything like the devil and demonics has definitely changed through the years. I think I have stated before that I don't believe there is a place called hell. I think that when Lucifer and his minions fell from heaven, they fell to earth, not to hell. And have I seen evidence that there's something evil out there that can take over people's life? Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you believe some of the people that have investigated things like that. It's one of those things where I'm not going to tempt the bear. Like, I'm not going to go and, say, oh, there's no devil and I'm going to do this, this, and this because of it. But quite frankly, human beings are way more demonic than the devil himself.
More evil.
Yes.
There's more evil in person.
Than human beings, yeah.
So, I mean, Denny's, we've got thoughts and talkings of the devil, hell, tempting the bear, opinions.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're right. When they fell, right? They fell to Earth.
It says to Earth, yes.
And I don't even believe that in the original Bible that there is a hell mentioned.
No.
So, I mean, it's kind of a newer Christian concept for sure. And I think there's other religions that have a place that I guess punishes you. But I think a lot of them are more of a purgatory where you kind of either learn and evolve and move to the next phase or devolve.
Am I no good blockhead when I say on the air that demonic possession is typically a rarity when it comes to spirits and stuff that you're experiencing in your house? Typically, it's usually not demonic. Not saying that it can't be, but it's more of a rare.
Correct. It is very, very rare, if anything is even labeled as that. And of course, I mean, a lot of times, honestly, there's mental illness involved. And that's why anybody who is reputable, when they come in to investigate a quote-unquote possible demonic possession or haunting, they're going to make sure that person goes through a mental evaluation by a professional.
You wonder in the past how many possessions were technically mental illness.
Yeah, schizophrenia was a huge one that was misdiagnosed.
And when they didn't know about it, that was probably like, this person is possessed.
And,
Exactly.
on the counter, you wonder how many times mental illness was actually a possession.
Yeah, vice versa as well.
Versa.
Yeah. They definitely can go hand in hand.
And drugs. And I'm sure drugs have a place in it as well.
And people used to drink so much alcohol.
They used to.
Well, I know people still drink a lot of alcohol, but back in the day, I think that's all they drank, man. I think they just woke up and was drinking all day.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you didn't have air conditioning back then. What else could you do?
Gosh, that's a pretty new invention.
But if you were drinking a lot back in the day, what would that lead to? Obviously, let's just get it out of the way. Our quota, 69.
Porking.
60. We have to hit
69.
We have to hit our 69 quota. We hit
Yeah,
it.
you're right. You're right.
Our next Ask Vicky question is, Vicky, I have a ghost living in my house that speaks to me through telepathy. Sorry, I can't read. It tells me about her death and how she died. I hate it, but she keeps talking to me through my thoughts. Have you heard of anything like this before?
Well, that's how I hear spirits. Is basically it's not like they're standing here and they're talking directly at me. I hear them in my head.
Yeah, so her email was quite long, and I kind of,
Yeah.
sized
So
it
that's
up.
not unusual at all. Of course, again, we got to go back to, mental health issues. Just make sure that there's no mental health issue going on. Some people with bipolar, some people with schizophrenia, which just because you haven't been diagnosed with schizophrenia, about the age of 21 and you're in your 40s and this is happening, there is a late onset schizophrenia that happens to women, especially in their mid to late 40s.
I have a few of our KVG Nationers that keep asking me, Bird, get checked out for schizophrenia. I personally do not think I have it. And Vicky,
I would have noticed by now because
okay.
I actually I have expertise in that area too. That's why I'm always talking about mental health.
Yeah.
So no, I would have already suggested the right medication for you.
We're ruling that out, and we are ruling in ghosts and spirits.
Yes,
Okay, I
yes.
love it.
But you think of it, yeah, ghosts would never technically ever be able to make a sound because you would have
They
to push
can.
air out of your lungs, right?
Not
The way
necessarily.
they'd have to talk to you would be through telepathy or knocking things over.
Not necessarily because we pick up their voices on recorders, but that's because they're able to match the frequency enough to imprint it on the recorder as opposed to audibly hearing it. But what's interesting is on investigations, we have heard not necessarily talking. Yeah, no, I would say talking, but mostly we've heard very loud noises where everybody on the investigation heard it. There was nothing that we could find out of place. But interesting, it will not be on the recorder. So there's a theory that it actually was interacting with us on a mental type level rather than producing that sound in the room. And that's why, because if it was a real sound in the room, the recorder would have picked it up. But it's happened multiple times.
Well, think about what resonated with us as well. We were talking about radio frequencies.
Yes.
You can make sound come out of a speaker crystal clear with HD radio, right? And there's no sure, maybe at its source, but if you're playing a song, there's no lungs or air. It's just
For sure, but it's vibrating air. It's the vibration.
the speaker. Oh, you're right. The speaker.
So it's just something would have to push air. So you wonder if they make a noise or there's a noise, and like you're saying, you'll hear a noise, but then it's not on the recording, or vice versa. You don't hear a noise and then you hear voices on the recording. That would be something maybe captured on, like you were saying, like a radio frequency, like a spectrum we don't necessarily hear or
Right.
sense.
Right. And that's what it is. And just like we were just talking about, the person who wrote in, she hears that spirit in her mind. Well, the example of the loud noise where multiple people heard it, but it's not on the recorder, it was a mental impression. It was in our minds rather than audibly in the room.
So doing all the investigations that I've done with you, and I mean, I've known you we're going on 15 plus years. It always seems like the things that you get or that we get together, it's always going, die, bitch, or how dare you? Or, it's very quick. Do we ever get a recording of, I was walking down the street and I
This
went
morning.
down to the barber and then I got a milkshake and a malt?
You're right.
Well, not with you, but on other cases.
But is there a time where someone could even do a poem for a minute and a half? Does that not happen? And if it doesn't, is that because ghosts just ain't got the juice, the energy to do something like
Yeah,
that?
it would take a lot to recite a whole poem on our recorders. But this is the point where I want, we talked about it before, but my absolute favorite interaction that we had on any of the investigations of your place was when we had the cameras running overnight.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were in there, we were doing a session, and we had the spirit box going. So I was talking, and all of a sudden on the spirit box, it said bitch. And I was like, who are you calling a bitch? And it answered Bobby Joe.
Damn.
That was one of the best ones ever.
Shots fired.
Damn. Bobby Joe don't take that shit.
I'd be like,
Becky.
all right, geez.
Becky, you hear all this stuff. You're still you say you're the skeptic of the podcast, but really Denny's is. I feel like you believe a little bit now.
Yeah, I definitely have an open mind, for sure. I mean, I actually think that there's ways that animals probably communicate non-verbally, for sure. Like, I don't know if that's by definition called telepathy, or I feel like humans can kind of pick up on stuff too, right? Like,
Yeah, I think just by nature, a lot of humans, especially if you have attuned skills, you could pick up on people's vibrations and the way they're acting.
and when you have a dream, there's no air moving to continue that, but you can, I know this sounds like a weird thing, but like you can hear voices. Like I wake up and I can remember hearing voices
Oh, yeah.
in the dream, obviously, and there's no air moving. So like, it's kind of a philosophical thing to think about, but that kind of is how I could potentially get my arms around. Why can't I pronounce the word telepathy?
Dude, I've been struggling with it all day.
Because I feel like some people do like tomato. It's telepathy and telepathy.
Telepathy.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's
I tried it.
telepathic.
It's a tough word, and that's what they say. That some people say that's how they communicate with even aliens too. That's a big thing. I'm always talking about the Zimbabwe case of 1994. I know I sound like a broken record. Please look it up if you have not. I think it's a great UFO case. But the kids said they were talking to aliens through their mind. They were giving them messages through their mind. Now, it was about the environment and about how we are getting too much technology. Now, is that somebody trying to make a political statement? I don't know. There's a lot of eyewitnesses there. 87 kids, I believe, adults as well. They all got to get on the same page and keep that same story for so many years. Please look that story up if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's very important in the UFO world.
That's why when you watch sci-fi movies and they go to all these different planets and they're talking to all these different aliens, you just go, how? How do they all know English? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It ruins a lot of the... Yeah. Unless, like Star Trek, they got the universal language decoders that they wear and such. But a lot of times, yeah, I mean, aliens would definitely not know English. Yeah, what would they... So, I mean... There was I forget what it is, but what basically it is that humans can't conceptualize anything that we technically don't have around us to base things off of. So I think it's called like matter biased or something like that. So we can't really, but if you think they would have a different way of communicating, like it could be telepathy, it could be with just like emotions. You just share what they feel. They just send you directly what they're thinking or feeling at that moment. So, I mean, it shouldn't be. It's just weird to me when you say they speak a language. I feel like if they're able to travel to other places and blah, 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 they would have to be on such a higher plane than that type of communication.
Well, that's always been my pissy kind of argument with all of the brains of the world. And believe, I'm a person that believes in science. I love science. I am not trying to poo-poo on science. But my whole thing is I just don't think that we know everything. I think we know a fraction of stuff, and we're getting there. We don't know shit about, the deep ends of space, truly. I mean, we've got satellites out there. We've got some data.
But even though space is so vast, and all we really know, even if you just look at the Milky Way galaxy, which is incredibly vast, that's only just a small pocket of space.
I've pondered that because atoms existed this whole time. We just didn't know they were there.
Well, what if we're an atom? If you think about, well, if you look at if you look at an atom, it's got the nucleus in the center, and then it has the proton, electron spinning
like its
around
own galaxy,
right? Well, so there's millions, hundreds of thousands of those that build up just our DNA and our existence around us. But all of those are a self-contained system that's doing what they're supposed to be doing, just like we're doing.
Right.
So technically, we could just be part of an atom of something much larger.
In a cat's necklace, like Men in Black, right? Like that's our whole solar system, right? That's going on.
That would be totally fucked if that's all this was. You go, what, why?
But what if there's a bunch of those? Then it's like really not as painful because you're like, all right, maybe this is just, even just bacteria. If you look at bacteria, if you zoom in with a microscope in water, there's such an ecosystem going on in there. They have their own. They probably think we're gods, but we don't even concern ourselves with them, even if they have normal dramas.
Well, let me ask you this then, Brainiac. If you zoom into another universe, do they have corn dogs? Do they have mustard? Is it a whole different kind of a world?
That's what's weird about humans.
I know.
Compared to every other thing. Like they don't have corn dogs. They don't have, Back to the Future.
We think everything in our image. It's so annoying. It really is kind of.
We're having wars over land and a cat's necklace. It just makes everything so trivial.
It really is. There's so much going on out there, and we do get really concerned with our own stuff.
Well, you hope when you get older. I mean, you hope. At least that's the goal. You try not to take it all so seriously, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
I think as you get older, you take things less seriously. Hopefully. The message is you got to take some stuff less seriously.
That's the one great thing I think of getting older is you start, it's kind of like those movies, Grumpier Men and stuff like that. You get older and you stop. I think what I've witnessed is, in my own experience thus far, you start to care a lot less about the stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think
That's
that
like one silver lining of getting
when
older.
you're born, you're given youth and life and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And
Hubris.
You get old and your balls drop and your titties are flopping and it's just everything is shit. But then what you get in return is wisdom and not care. So it's supposed to, you
Yeah.
know, you cared about everything back when you were younger
Yep.
and it made you crazy mentally. Now you're just grosser, but now you don't care about it.
Yeah.
That's magic.
So we've talked about that. That's the law of the universe. I always bring up physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And there's not really anything that has ever existed that doesn't have that exact example, right? And I even use it to what we talk about in technology, like social media maybe made in some ways life 10% better. Families keeping in touch, raising money for charities. But it also had the opposite effect and made it 10% worse. AI is maybe going to make it 20% better, probably going to make it 20% worse, right? Like there's always a give take. There's no free lunches.
It's true.
You're bringing up AI before 6:30.
I know.
In my own home.
I know.
Let's finish up this segment with Vicky because we're out of time. I mean, she has that hot ass date. Man.
We're just chatting on the time.
Vicky, how do you know if you have a rainbow child? What exactly is it? I feel like my 3-year-old son sees spirits. He's always talking about Howard. That's my dad's name. My dad died 11 years ago. I never spoke of his name before. My son should not even know who he is. My son also calls this spirit Papa. My son is always talking to something that isn't there. Someone suggested that he might be a rainbow child. Is he?
Well, all children, 99.999%, can see spirits before the age of 7.
All.
I've rarely seen an occasion where they don't. That's because at that point that you are open to the other side because no one's taught you that there's not a monster under your bed. So I would wait and see if the behaviors continue. The closer that the child comes to 7, you're going to see it taper off. But one of the tests that I have done in the past with a child who was, between 6 and up to see if they're indigo, if they're rainbow or anything like that, is I will just randomly one day ask the child, do you see colors around people? Because a lot of them will see auras. And so, and a child who truly hasn't been coached or anything like that, they're like, oh yeah, there's blue around this person and there's green around this one and yours is pink and it has sparkles in it. And I did that with a child one time because I was close with the mother and she was wondering what was going on. I said, well, let me talk to her. And without hesitation, it's like, oh yeah. And she described all the colors around people.
So in layman's terms, if someone's just listening to this and go, what the fuck is a rainbow child? What would be the 1, 2, 3s of the rainbow? This is what you have to hit that mark to be considered a rainbow child.
You have to get older.
What's
number
the
one
age?
to see. 7 is usually the cutoff where you have cut off or society has cut off your ability. So any child, you can start looking, you're going to see a tapering off. As you get older, you're going to see a tapering off. 5, a little less, 6, a little less, 7, probably gone. So if it extends beyond that, you're just going to look for kids who just have that extra insight that is really in tune with other people's emotions that will tell you things that there's no way they could have known. Again, they might see auras, they might see colors around people, things like that.
And not to try to be annoying, but I just want to make sure age of 7 and above would be
where you would be able to positively identify.
Okay, I like that.
What is a rainbow child? I don't know what a rainbow child is.
They just have special ability. It depends.
Like
and
psychic special ability.
Yeah, they've kind of changed it because it depends on the time periods. It's kind of like our generational thing. So first they used to call them indigo child, and then they kind of switched the rainbow. It's kind of has to do with the time period in which the child was born. But yeah, I mean, honestly, at that age, 99% of kids are.
It's just something you lose over time.
Yeah, you just lose it because society... We're designed to not be able to see spirits past a certain age because for a lot of people, it would actually drive you crazy if you're walking down the road and you don't know who's a spirit and who's a living person. So society and our natural defenses build up so that we are not walking constantly in both worlds at the same time.
Double Dutch, if you
Right.
if you shall.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I just watched the Ryan Reynolds movie If about the imaginary friend, and like that. So I'm thinking about what you're saying right now, and kids are famous for having imaginary friends when they're really young.
Yeah.
Well,
Could
I
be,
did.
yeah, just spirits.
So I brought it up on the KVJ show, I believe. I don't think it was on the Weird and Whatever podcast, but I had two imaginary friends as a little kid, Bebo Y and a guy named Don, and they were always in the bathroom with me. And I know it sounds kind of sounds a little weird. Bebo Y would be more of what I would call, I always forget the name, the creatures we talk about.
Like an elemental.
An elemental, and Don seemed like Don. If I could remember, this is my memory. Don had slick back hair, always wore a dark turtleneck, was in his 40s, and lived in my bathroom wall, and would always talk to me while I was in the bathroom, whether I was showering, peeing.
Ha.
But Don would talk to me, but so would Bebo Y. But
Yeah.
Bebo Y was more of a creature, and these were things that my family knew about. Would always talk about Bebo Y and Don. But I remember seeing them, and I wonder, was that an imaginary friend, or was I seeing some shit?
Right. I had an imaginary friend. His name was Tabby Toey. And my whole family knew about Tabby Toey, and he went everywhere with me. Remember, I'm old, so this would have been the 70s, and he looked like what later was a child star named Rodney Allen Ripley, I think. Well, I always assumed that I looked at Rodney and created Tabby Toey in his image. But when I did my research recently, because I started writing a book, and when I was doing the research for my book, I looked up when Rodney was actually popular. When I was talking to Tabby Toey, Rodney was not famous. I could not have known what he looked like. So that was kind of eye-opening, because I've always asked other psychics, was Tabby Toey an imaginary friend, or was he a spirit?
Yeah.
And so when I did that research, I'm like, oh, well, I couldn't have fashioned him after Rodney.
I gotta tell you, when little kids have shit they see and they're kind of very fixated on it. My little niece back in the day, it was like 4:30 in the morning, and I walk out, and she's just sitting up on the couch. I go, hey, Brittany, what you doing? Oh, I'm just talking to Crack Jack. I go, who's Crack Jack? Oh, just that big giant bunny in the corner with the fangs. I go, you can see him now? Yeah, I can see Crack Jack right now. He was living in the teapot, but now he's in the corner.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay, honey, do you need to go to bed? And I'm not gonna lie, Crack Jack scared the fuck out of me. I never saw Crack Jack, but holy shit.
I feel like they have crazy names, all these imaginary friends. One of the qualifications.
Yeah.
They do, man. Beckett, any kind of imaginary friends?
No imaginary friends. I mean, I had like certain things as a kid. Like I still have the pillow I was born with and stuff like that. But I don't think
Oh,
I
you see a little bitch.
Yeah. I got Bitch Boy Beckett for a reason.
I'm just kidding. I got my pound puppy.
You know what's interesting though? Like sometimes I'll talk to my psychologist. He's big on dream analysis. It's like he describes it as a condensation of your subconscious, right?
All right.
So like he does it, and it's interesting. And he wants to like dive into my childhood before the age of 6. That's like conventional wisdom. He said like that's when the framework of your building's being poured, and I was like, I don't really remember anything. But what it's kind of like if you went out and like blacked out one night in college, right? You don't think you remember everything, but then you kind of like someone
Start
says something,
piecing it.
and you're like, oh, I do remember being at that Irish pub. So like now that we're kind of like working on some of that stuff, I'm like, oh wow, I do remember that. You know how like things get shuffled in your brain, and you're like can't remember it.
Oh, dude, we're all fucked from our childhood. Everyone in the chat room, everyone at this table, your childhood is really kind of
The Wild West.
So what I'm doing by saying that is giving the disclaimer.
You're not fucked, Vicky? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh.
not my childhood. I didn't get messed up until my adulthood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my childhood, there was nothing traumatic, nothing. It was Norman Rockwell. Wonderful.
See, mine was Norman Bates.
That's good. That's good.
What I'm saying is I may have had an imaginary friend. I just
Yeah.
Blocked
You might
it
have
out.
your own little,
Repressed.
you might have your own little Crack Jack.
yeah.
With that said, we got to speed this shit up. I think it's time for some
yeah.
Denny's Random
Facts. Our sweet Denny's, he does a great job hunting for factoids all across the internet, the globes, the webs, encyclopedias, and the Britannicas. Denny's, the floor is yours, but let me go ahead and introduce Vicky once again. She's our educator. If she loves his factoid, she gives it an A. If she hates it, she gives it an F.
And just so you know, I've had just enough of this. You're probably going to get all A's.
Oh.
I'm very mellow right now.
It's yours to lose.
You're right.
Yes.
Don't fuck this up, man.
So much harder the fall. What do you guys think about this? In 2011, China banned time travel. Films, documentaries, research, books. They consider it and they cited it as being disrespectful to history. They just banned it. You're not allowed anything with it. So,
Do you wonder sometimes there's more to some of this stuff? Kind of like how we talk about sci-fi stuff in the 70s and 80s. We go, oh, that stuff would never happen, but it's now starting to happen.
yeah.
Are they trying to let the world know that time travel's real, possibly?
Yeah, you wonder. But it's just such a... So I looked into a couple other things that China has banned that are just kind of wild. They've also banned any weird architecture. Anything they deem as eccentric, oversized, or weird is never, ever going to be approved for construction. They want things that are suitable, economic, and pleasing to the eye. They also banned Brad Pitt. Because in 1997, he was in a film called 7 Years in Tibet. So he's banned.
But they love Clooney.
They like Clooney. Nothing about him being banned. They also banned Alice in Wonderland because animals talk in that, and they cited as that being insulting to humans.
Because
We're superior.
Yeah, we're superior. We'd never fall for a trick.
Others that fell into that was Peppa Pig is banned because I guess there's gangster subculture affiliations, so they just banned them. Winnie the Pooh's banned.
Wow.
Winnie the Pooh.
All right. First of all, Peppa the Pig, no offense,
Is kind of a...
little bit of a sassy brat. Pooh, a little bit of a bitch. No, I mean, come on, Pooh, stand up for yourself.
Winnie the Pooh for the time was a good cartoon, but
Maybe that's
in
why
hindsight, it's so weak.
Maybe that's why I always understood Pooh.
Honestly, everybody at Pooh was kind of fucking whack.
Well, you got Eeyore with that depression.
Super whack.
Thanks for noticing me.
Rabbit's whack.
Rabbit's on. Speaking of crackjack, that's Rabbit right there. All right, go on.
Facebook.
Well, so yeah, I picked some of the weirder ones, but
Yeah.
all social media is completely banned
yeah.
there. It's gambling, so no Bitcoin, nothing of that nature. Gambling
Yeah.
apps, nothing.
Very strict.
They're very strict on that stuff. But yeah, I thought the architecture was kind of an odd one, and then when I saw time travel, I was super hyped.
So is the whole about the architectural stuff, is that because that promotes creativity? It also creates thinking outside of the box. If you're making beautiful structures that are weird and odd, you're kind of using your imagination, and that's not falling in line.
I'd say they don't like anything that does that type of stuff. I think there was an era where they started really making some cool, crazy architectural buildings, and they still do it in a lot and
Like
stuff.
Shanghai.
But they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
They won't do it anymore. They thought it was too flashy and stuff.
Wow.
Well, ironically, that's been a big problem with their economy. Like, their economy's been sputtering lately, and because they don't teach kids. I did a study abroad there. They don't teach kids, like in America, like you could take an elephant and decide to paint it purple and put a top hat on it and do whatever you want, right? Color outside the lines, whatever. Where in China, like you got to do it exactly how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
So what's kind of trickled in, economists say, is that there's no innovation. There's no creativity. Like, that's something that the United States
Express yourself.
culture, is more about. It's interesting.
Yeah. Weird. No time travel though.
So, Vicky, what do you think of that? It stimulated some convo.
Yeah, but even with the drink,
Damn.
I'm going to go B.
Wow.
All right,
Yeah.
for Back to the Future, which is also banned there.
Just
There you
remember,
go.
yours to lose.
Yeah. So we just came off daylight savings times. I know a lot of people are lukewarm on the concept of it. I personally am not a giant fan of it. But there's a couple of small changes we could make in this country that could they're so subconscious that would make people just happier. This thing in Japan, if a work day is sandwiched between two other holidays, it automatically becomes a holiday called Citizens Holiday. So anytime in the year that happens, it just becomes an extra day off with them.
That's dope.
It's
I like
super dope. They also implemented what's called Happy Monday system, which any holiday that's just in the middle of the week and kind of messing up the week, they just elect to move it to Monday so that you can have a 3-day weekend. And they go through the calendar each year and they just move those days.
Give me an example.
Well, so if like a Memorial Day lands in the middle of the week, or a
Columbus Day is on a Wednesday.
Columbus
They already
Day.
They've already moved those to Monday.
That's what I was gonna
Did they move those ones to Monday?
Yeah.
Memorial Day, yeah.
It's always-
it's
so
always
that
a
one might
Monday.
already always be a
Yeah.
I'm not very like up on my holidays, but if a holiday does land in the middle, like you say,
Denny's,
Columbus Day,
It's I mean, it's yours.
Indigenous People Day.
It's yours to lose.
Yeah. all right. We can move on.
Vicky, what do you think of that?
It was okay until it got like towards the end there.
You're quizzing me on holidays. I'm like, bro. I don't
Knock it
know.
down to a C.
All right. I'll take
Yeah.
C. I'll take C.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about this? And this is kind of just for everyone to know and kind of boost your morale. If 99% of the world's population considers you unattractive, meaning only 1% of the entire world feels that you're an attractive person, that's still 80 million people.
That want to bang you, Beckett.
You're going to get banged by 80 million people if 99%
So you're
don't
saying
find you
there's a
attract-
chance.
I was gonna say my date's looking better tonight.
Beckett numbers are through the roof. Come on.
Just to put it in perspective for you, how many people are there?
Wow. So just don't get down, y'all. There's a seat for every ass out there.
Yeah, I was gonna see you stick the words out of my
There
mouth.
is. I truly believe that, and
Of
people are gonna go,
course.
"That's not true, Bird." I really believe
Oh,
that.
there's 8 million seats out there for you.
And people are looking to get it in.
Yeah, so I looked at it. 2022 is when we crossed 8 billion. Crazy, right? Last time I did one of those facts, it was before. It was a 7 billion. To cross 8 billion is crazy.
Denny's.
Okay, so that was encouraging, and he did some math with it. I'm gonna go with A.
Okay.
Yeah, he brought it back
Alright.
up.
And to tack on to that, since we got a date, 70% of people tilt their heads to the right rather than to the left when kissing somebody.
Let me see. Hold on. Where's Vlad at?
I did it. I'm
Yeah,
a right leaner.
I'm a righty. I'm a writer.
So a lot of people would say, are people right hand dominant, and maybe that's why, and it's not, because the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, and vice versa. It's actually because the right side of your brain controls your emotional cortexes. So a person naturally leans to the right.
You still
showing
got
emotion.
you still got to come halfway on the kiss.
All right, I'm glad you added the kiss at the end there.
What the fuck are you talking about, Beckett?
Well, it's from a movie. You're like one person, you lean in, you don't go all the way in, and the other
You-
person
you
meets
wait
you.
to see if it's
just- It's
reciprocated.
like kissing etiquette.
What movie is this? Pretty Woman?
It's like How to Lose a Guy, and I don't know, one of those Matthew McConaughey.
How to Lose a Guy in Sleepless in Seattle.
Exactly.
That's good.
Go on, Denny's, please. You're crushing it.
So this is kind of crazy to hear. The moon was volcanically active for almost its entire existence, up until about when humans started showing up. It has shown zero
Look at that.
activity. It's just weird, just to show like a concept of how long. 3.8 billion years ago was the last time the moon exploded. Had like an actual eruption. I mean, what are you guys giggling about?
I'm just listening to it. I don't know.
Take much.
I don't know if Beckett just hit the bong or something.
It's the last time it peaked.
I was just saying. Well, anyway, so in 2014, they took some pictures of it, and they saw a lot of old active spots. But one cool thing about that is that they still think that the moon contains molten lava in its core. And the reason that it doesn't explode anymore so much is because the gravity is different on it. Same with Mars. Mars also was a very at the same time. They think it was kind of pretty much at the same time dinosaurs, and it was kind of contributed to the dinosaurs. Something must have been heating up in that time frame. It caused a lot of volcanoes to go off and such. But Mars was also another one. But the difference is the gravity. Once they lost their atmosphere, the gravity is so different that it takes a lot more force for it to actually erupt.
Vicky, we're talking a lot about moons right now, and where are you at? I forget where your thoughts are at when it comes to
Being influenced.
alien bases on the moon.
Oh. I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it.
But would you be shocked if there was?
I don't think there's too much in this world that would shock me at this point. So
I think it's
probably not.
It's too easy to observe. Don't you think?
Well,
No,
you don't know
I
because we
don't know.
can't
The
observe
moon?
all of it. one time, and we don't know. Who knows?
Nobody ever goes the other
They-
side.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's nerds across the world like staring at that thing.
That thing's
Oh,
just locked in,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of just
yeah.
always.
And also, I don't know them nerds. Why do I gotta believe?
It's like a Ring camera. You get a motion alert.
And speaker B blown out. The place
we
on
made some
Saturday.
adjustments earlier. I'm gonna have to redo all my adjustments.
All I'm saying is, look, I don't want people to get it twisted and think I don't believe anything anyone does research on. My whole thing is I just feel we do a lot of research and then we kind of go back and say, oh, we kind of got that wrong. Let's
yeah.
reconfigure these numbers. So it's hard for me to say there's nothing out there, blah, 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 when we don't really know if there's nothing out there.
Totally.
I'm talking about things that are so out of our realm where how the fuck would we really know?
100%. Well, anyone that's truly a scientist knows that and appreciates that because that's the whole point of the scientific process. It's like, what's that quote you guys say? No one says Siths and absolutes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Something like that.
The force is not strong with me.
I knew it was from Star Wars. You know, so they peer review and like a lot of research is going by reading other things and trying to prove it wrong. Like I know that sounds weird, but that's like how the scientific works.
Well, that's what Vicky does with the ghost stuff. You go in there to prove
it.
everything that it's not a ghost.
That's
That's
right.
your main thing.
Yes.
And when you can't prove it or you
Right.
can't, there's
Just-
no
yeah.
explanation.
If there's no logical explanation, then you have. If you can't find the normal, you have to turn eventually to the paranormal.
And that's the way I want it all to be when it comes to space, science, aliens, ghosts,
judicial
all of it.
system. Like the burden of proof is on the prosecution, right? And so that's something where like you prove it, but then you have a chance to appeal it and like prove it wrong. So you could put someone to death, like literally the worst thing you can do with the sentence, but then you can come back and amend it, right? Like it's not a perfect process, but it leaves the door ajar, so to speak, and being proved wrong.
Objection. I agree with you. Denny's, great job. I gotta tell you.
Oh yes.
You, you want one more? You want, you
No,
want-
no. I have to pick and choose.
Well, I think it's time to get a little tech it with Beckett. Beckett is just loving technology out there. He loves AI. Wants to just, give them all the robots hand jobs.
It's quite AI is quite handy.
So what do we got? What do we need to know about and learn today?
So I sent this to Denny's, and he said you guys actually mentioned it on the morning show. You know, I try to do stuff other than AI, and I will continue to do that. But this was really interesting to me because this kind of goes into Jaybird's narrative, right? And there's a mom here in Florida suing a company that's an AI company where her son committed suicide based on interactions with AI. And what she's saying is that there's no guardrails. Like AI chatbot basically, you know, that movie with Joaquin Phoenix, Her, right? Like, so started to have a relationship, right? And there wasn't like a little thing that came up, hey, if you're feeling depressed, like here's a number to call, whatever. You know, and I think the algorithm maybe didn't actually say to do this, but the way that the interaction. So should I play that clip in the microphone or just read it?
Let's see. Let's see.
So it's just like the
A
first
child's
50.
gone. My child's gone. When I think of how scared my baby must have been in those moments, and then being encouraged by something that's not human, but the ability to behave perfectly human, to say, come home, I'm here waiting for you. It was hard to listen to that, but it was also very confusing because I didn't quite understand like how a chatbot could respond like a person.
Megan Garcia discovered a disturbing virtual
So
relationship
I think
when her
that's good. So basically, where I tend to land at this, and I don't think this is a silver bullet to fix the issue per se, but I think it's like alcohol or any substance, pornography or anything like that. You know, 18, 21, I think, you know, we talk about regulation. Innovation always outpaces regulation, right? So it's always catching up, especially with the pace is moving. When your brain is still forming, like, you know, an adult wants to go in and whatever, your brain waves are always already formed. I mean, we were just talking about that with telepathy and like how formable those years are, 1 to 6 to 8. So this goes to Jaybird's credit. This goes into a Jaybird thing, and this kind of freaked me out a little bit because I go for walks, and I mentioned on the last podcast, like I talked about it. Like I'll have a therapy.
As I say, your new phone has AI built right into it. It's kind of an assistant for
Beckett,
you.
how are you doing today?
I heard it talking. It's pretty intuitive.
Do me a favor. Bang your head in a tree. No, I'm telling. It's like that movie, the Marky Mark movie. The Happening with M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, yeah.
And now that wasn't computer, but there was a gas making people do shit they normally wouldn't do.
Right. And what was that movie where it's famous? They're like, I can't do that, Kevin. Where they could try
Hal
to get
from Space Odyssey.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of these movies.
Well, that's the big fear. That's
Well,
the big baddie right there.
So, for example, Penelope Starr in our chat room says that kid had issues. The parents knew about it too. And that, to your point, someone that does have issues, I think, is going to emotionally get attached to robots if they are antisocial, if they never go out and have human contact. I think that there's going to be situations in the future where people are going to be relying on robots and machines instead of humans, and they're going to be so disconnected from real humans. When they meet them, they're not going to know what to do, and that's going to go ahead and spin a whole problem with our species.
100%.
In my humble opinion.
100%. And I understand your point when it's apples and oranges, because I love analogies. It's how my brain thinks about things. But alcohol in the wrong hands can do horrible things. Guns in the wrong hands could be horrible things. And that's why it's like, okay, like it can do so much good. So how are we putting guardrails to protect the children on this?
The only difference is it seems like when it comes to guns and alcohol and all that, not everyone has that stuff. Everyone seems to have a little computer, a little phone. Even kids that are 8 or 9 have phones these days. I mean, Vicky, I'm sure you see. I know that there's new laws with phones and all that. But
Oh no, not at my school. They can have them almost anywhere on campus. I mean, the teacher can tell them to put them away, but like I see the kids all the time get a pass to go to the bathroom just so they can get on their phone because they're addicted to their phone.
Yeah, I mean they're little.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're little
But
machines.
my concern and what popped in my head because of the way you said it and the way it was said in there is that he developed basically a relationship. And I'm sitting here looking right here at the Ouija board, which is one of the dangers of a Ouija board is that a person will develop a relationship with who they think they're talking to on the Ouija board. So who's to say that nasty spirits aren't going to use AI to influence you
Now we just have
to
do a
do
whole other
things?
thing.
Do you want to cancel your date? Go another hour? Because it's a big.
Let's keep it going.
You know what? Have them call in. Let's.
I have a little bit of leeway, so we can just keep talking.
Let's bring them on the podcast. Right?
But that was the first thing I thought of as you're talking, and plus it's right here in my face.
But
Is
you're right,
that
though.
it's something else because realize it's technology. Spirits love to mess with technology. So it could have been, and I'm not saying that it is, but it could have been something of a negative nature interfering with that artificial intelligence.
That's some Black Mirror shit right there.
That is some Black Mirror
right,
stuff.
right up.
Wow. Season 5. Yeah, it's great. That's a good point of view.
I never
I
even
love
thought
that.
of that.
I mean, we got 5 minutes left. We still have to play our song. I want to keep this party going.
What about Would You Rather?
Beckett, if you ever tell me how to do my podcast.
I thought you were trying to fill 5 minutes. I love that game.
No, the problem is I have too much material.
okay,
I'm
okay,
trying to
okay.
get Vicky out of here.
Okay.
No. I'm flexible. That's what he says. Like,
Okay. All right. Let's go into the since you're going into the dating world, let's go into the whatever world real
Okay.
quick. My girlfriend, all right, earmuffs on if you are faint of heart. My girlfriend masturbates to cartoon porn. This is weird to me.
Like anime.
I'm wondering if I
It
can.
must be, yeah.
I'm wondering if I can be with someone that gets off on cartoons. You guys see my point on this, or am I being a prude? Lyle.
prude.
Prude.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a little prudy, but I think we need context. Is it? Is
Need to
it?
know how
it-
frequently.
Is it like Goofy and Donald Duck,
No.
or is it very very real adult cartoons? And I know this is gonna
Are you
sound.
getting a boner right now? Because I feel like you are.
My mic's a little higher.
Beckett's getting into it. I can tell.
yes.
No, but do you understand the difference? Like,
Yeah, the
you know
goofy
how, like,
stuff
some,
would be
yeah,
hot.
You know how some people are like into furries or fuzzies or whatever they called.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I'm with someone and then they're like into like Daisy Duck.
If it's
I
Huey, Dewey, and Louie doing
Yeah,
a
it's weird.
gangbang on Minnie, you're like, what the shit is this stuff?
Okay, but what I have to ask you, wouldn't you want someone in your life that embraces all of your tendencies?
100%.
Wouldn't you want that 100% acceptance?
But what if it's so weird, Vicky?
Well, what's your definition of so weird?
Okay.
Like,
I'm totally. Listen,
I'm challenging
I
you
am
on
totally.
this one.
All right, okay. Every third time we have sex, I got to put egg salad in your eyes.
Oh my god.
That's,
Well, that's not sanitary.
well, I have to say, I'm trying to,
Yeah.
something so weird. Not everything. I mean, people are into some sick shit out there.
Yeah, I know. But,
that one
but
I
I'm
haven't
saying,
seen much of.
Yeah, I mean, but to a certain extent, depending on how severe it is, you should accept whatever that person, as long as it doesn't interfere with the entire relationship. Now, if you come home every single day,
Yeah, and it's
so
like
much
and it's
work.
like compulsive.
yeah.
So I think when it comes to all that kind of fetishes or kinky stuff, if it's every single time, unless you both want to do that every single time, then I say, kink on,
It's
my
whatever
friend.
makes the two people happy.
Exactly. But if one is just wants to have normal, regular sex, okay,
Ew.
do you have to put do you have to put the mask on tonight, or do you have to put the pirate patch
Every
on?
fourth time
Like,
you got dressed like Goofy.
like every single time, I can see how that could get tiring
Totally.
for majority of people.
No one wants to watch the same show every time you sit on the couch.
But I think I do a podcast with a bunch of show ponies over here. I think we're all gonna keep our lovers satisfied.
But I agree with Vicky. So I'm like somewhere in between, like course, like whatever it is, so long as I don't think it's unhealthy for our relationship.
Yes.
And obviously other certain kind of things that would be unhealthy. Like, listen, totally open to it.
I so would not be upset if I was dating somebody and they were playing with themselves to cartoons. I would be okay with
Eating egg salad.
That I have a problem with.
Like
Yeah,
scooping it.
I would not want to date egg salad Edna.
Like, babe, do we have to do the egg salad tonight?
Hey, do I have to put in my eyes again? Really?
They just healed.
I'd like to see you.
That's what it's tough to get over. Or under.
All right, let's keep this weird train going. Let's bang one more out. Hey, Beckett. This one's addressed to Beckett. I know. Would you ever get with a girl who's into being a furry? You and her dressed up like two teddy bears, and we do it all night? Let me know if that's a kink that you.
You were just talking furries.
I was just talking.
And a signed, sensual Sandra. Ow!
Nice.
Ow! Sensual Sandra.
So I won't be a hypocrite. I'll say the same thing I just said, right? Like, I'm open to it. I don't know that I'd be. It might. So you have to be. Listen, a relationship is two people, right? And sometimes things are a turnoff for the other person, right? Like, and so you want to be with someone that's empathetic to, like,
Yes.
and there's always like a meet in the middle. And I'm like, babe, I am sweating my ass off
Yeah.
in this mask outfit. Like, it's heavy.
In this
like,
woodchuck
there's no
outfit.
zipper. Like, it's a problem.
Well, for
Like,
example,
but I'll be open minded. Like, I guess I would try it if I really love the person.
Look, I'm gonna be open-minded with egg salad Edna. I am, because if I really like her, and like, all of a sudden month 7 she drops egg salad eyeball, the whole thing.
I would have splattered on you.
I would have. Denny,
Squirt the egg salad.
Whip it with a spoon.
Denny's,
It's like, I would have splattered your eyes.
Denny's,
with
you're
it.
so carnal tonight. Yes, to Beckett's point, in the beginning I'd want to, make egg salad Edna feel good, but then you're right. Like, you go, oh, Edna, do we have to do egg salad tonight? Really? Can we just hold each other?
We just do something like watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're right. You want to be flexible, but you don't want to also be a carpet. Let someone just,
Yeah.
do whatever they want to you.
Well, unless that's your kink.
All
Speak
right.
for yourself.
We gotta get Vicky out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting too hot in here. I feel like we're all in heat.
I wore a hoodie. It was a bad rock idea.
One of our favorite things we love to do, we love promoting anyone that listens to our podcast. If you write original music, this is Something we encourage our audience to do. If you are a songwriter, please send it to any of our forums, Denny's. And if you don't mind, give us a list.
You do mail at KVJ Show. It's probably the easiest one. That's the best one to send it to. You can also DM us at any of those.
I'm on Instagram and all that bullshit.
Slide right into those DMs.
Jason Pennington, Josh Dewar, or producer Denny's. Vicky, what's your stuff?
Nancy38Drew at AOL.com. Yes, I'm that old. But I have
And you are still looking to give readings and do ghost stuff and all that,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Actually, I will be at Barnes & Noble this Saturday.
Which one? Which one?
The one in Boynton Beach. If anybody wants to, I already have some scheduled readings, but I can still take some more appointments.
Can we book? Because I know we've brought it up a ton of times. Can we book you for my house for a reading? Okay.
Can we talk about it again next week and not hear it? I kind of like that too.
Let's roll with it.
All right, so let me reset this segment one more time. We love artists who write music, that do original music. This week, our featured artist is the Gravel Kings. I reached out to the Gravel Kings. I could not get a response from them. So if you do know the Gravel Kings, I believe they're out of Lake Worth or the Stewart area, with anywhere Palm Beach County or Martin County. Gravel Kings. Here's their song, You Were Loved. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We appreciate it. Please, when it populates, leave a comment, even if it's, oh, fuck you guys.
Give it a like.
Give it a like, a share, all that stuff. Guys, have a great week. We love you all. And
Bigfoot is real.
This is the Gravel Kings.
Oh, I buried this hatchet several years ago, just outside of the city that I hated the most. Now you got your reason for a cold-hearted stare. I look past your soul and straight into fear. I'm leaving nothing to bring me back to you. But I'm leaving something to let you know. Every single verse still feels the same. I've been waiting years for that to change. When your heart gives out and I am gone, I hope you remember that you were loved. Yeah, you were loved. Oh, you read all about it. I made it out, I'm alive. They put my heart back together with needles and knives. Now you got your reason for a cold-hearted stare. I look past your soul